Yes, Mzansi, welcome back. Your Feel Good Breakfast Show. And let me tell you, inspiration's coming through on a Monday, especially after this conversation. Now listen up. Everything from personal heartbreak to empowerment. Cindy Jumat has walked a journey, and a journey at that. One of resilience, one of healing, and one of self-discovery. Now, she grew up in Mitchell's Plain, and she absolutely faced so many struggles that could have broken her. But instead, she turned them into a mission to uplift others. And now, as a certified life coach and author, she's helping women heal, grow, and step into their power. And just this past weekend, some impact was made. She hosted her highly anticipated Mummy to Bride Marriage Bootcamp, which is a transformational experience designed to help women heal from past wounds and build stronger relationships. This is sounding incredible. So let's find out firsthand. And she joins us to reflect on that journey, share some key takeaways, and dive deeper into the lessons that have shaped her incredible path. Wow, Cindy.
Cindy.
Oh, a breath of fresh air right now.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And this color, let me tell you, that's your color, girl.
Thank you so
You look
much.
absolutely
I'm
great.
blending in with the student.
No, you're standing right on our girl. I love to see it. Many people have heard bits of your story, but I want you to almost take us through some of the toughest times that you went through, to not just have a moment of sadness, but to have that moment to say that actually sparked something in you to create something else. So what were some of those challenging moments that really motivated you to get to where you are now?
As Raul said, I grew up in Mitchell's Plain and then, went to the United States for 10 years.
Sure.
And I had my first boyfriend at 26 years old.
Yep.
And so there was a lot of, trials that I went through, but that was one of the moments that changed my life forever. And, a year into our relationship, he was murdered and killed. And from that time, I went into darker depression and I had suicidal thoughts. I grew up in the church, but at that time, I, separated myself from God and just, wanted to take my own life. And so processing that grief, like I kind of went into this toxic cycle with clubbing, drinking, smoking weed, just one boyfriend or the other, because I wasn't really processing the grief in a healthy way. But, I had an encounter with God.
Sure.
And the Mummy to Bride talks about my transition, because when God showed me my transformation, I was a mummy because of the depression and the heartache that I carried, the grief. I was wrapped around in grave cloths, and that was what I looked like in the spirit. But I then had a vision where Jesus came up and he started unraveling the grave cloths, right, one by one. And that was my healing transformation. And when I came out of that bondage, I realized that if I can be healed and transformed, that this healing process can work for other people that are stuck in bondage as well.
Wow, this is such a symbolic story of like emancipation. It's like you heal that woman and the queen appears, and you literally are embodying that journey right now. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for somehow rising above that adversary to do what you are doing, which I think is such a beautiful silver lining to all of this. You've taken something that was disempowering and using it to empower others, and you did that so perfectly this weekend. Talk to me about the actual event, the Mummy to Bride Marriage Bootcamp. Happened this past weekend. What was the experience like? How was the impact? What were the women saying?
Sure. We had an experience that cannot be described. I'm going to try my best.
Yeah.
But this was the official launch, because when I got that vision, it was in 2017.
Oh, wow.
And so along this road, I've written 4 books,
Sure.
2 deliverance workbooks, a notepad was developed out of it, a devotional.
Wow.
And so Saturday was tremendous because it was the official launch. And so it was my first From Mummy to Bride workshop. And so we had a brunch set up, and of course I shared my testimony. And people were like on the ground, shaking, crying, because in that moment they were being healed and transformed and delivered. And what God did for me, he was doing in that moment for other women in the room. And there were some men that snuck in. My dad, he's here. But that's okay. But just to see what I went through and how I was healed was happening in the room was just remarkable.
Wow, and I can see it in your face.
Yes.
The way you're talking about this, there's so much light coming from you right now. I want to touch on that healing aspect. I understand it's not linear, I get that. When you look at some of the barriers that people might go through, women maybe in particular, to healing, What are some of those that stand out for you?
I work with a lot of women, so I do online counseling sessions, right? And I do international counseling sessions. So I found that universally there's women that struggle with their past, right? Whether it's molestation, rape, abuse, it's so common, incest. And so when they now want to transition into marriage, it's very difficult because they have all these past traumas holding on to them. And so it's a mindset, you know, and some of them are fearful because they are so used to being hurt. And so one of the things that we do, we work with the spirit of rejection, because you can meet a wonderful man, but if you feel rejected, you will not be able to receive that man. And so it's that fearfulness, that rejection that they've experienced throughout their life. And so once they heal from that, now they can emerge firstly, as he said, the queen that they are, and then embrace the God-given destiny.
Wow.
Yo, Cindy, listen, I could talk to you the entire morning and just be inspired completely, as much like Mzansi is right now. But I just want to, before you go, ask you, what sort of words do you have for many that I think are inspired to maybe start their own healing journey? What would you say to them? And if people want to maybe reach out to you to continue that journey, how can they do that?
So I do have a website, iministries.co, and they can reach out and they can see everything that I have to offer. But for me, I said, we have to, you see, look at what is hindering you. What are your blockages? What are your struggles? Some people have put labels on themselves. I'm not worthy. I'm unloved. I will never prosper. Some people have put labels on women, and now they walk into that labels. And so I want to encourage, you know, those who are stuck, who are bound like I was in depression, just take that step. And for me, my transformation came when I had an encounter with God. I reached out and I said, I can't do this on my own. And that was my transformation. And so I want to encourage someone that is here today listening just to press through and take that first step and replace those negative labels with I'm loved, I'm chosen, I'm redeemed, I'm set free, I'm delivered, and then walk in that. And then when your mind makes the switch, you will automatically start walking into that.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. A new
like
identity to embrace too. I'm here for it. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you guys for
I know that
having
you've
me.
inspired so many people from brokenness to strength. Like I said, the resilience is so apparent. So thank you for using this platform for good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate
Beautiful.
it.
That's where we wrap up, but the motivation still continues and the goodness is coming your way right now.